Hey everybody, and today we are going to play Cindr from Smirk and Laughter Games. Let's get it on. You prepared for the smolder? So what are we playing today?
Today we're playing Cindr, a new game from Smirk and Laughter Games, where we will date dragons.
Oh yeah.
So this is sort of a play on dating apps. And we are, we're on a dating app called Cindr, and we are trying to find a match or maybe just have some fun. So the way to start the game is that we each get a character, sort of like a profile. So I've chosen this girl right here, and then you give your character a name, you assign it a pronoun, and then you give it a like and a dislike. And the like and the dislike and the name and pronoun are kind of just for funsies, but it's a neat little thing that you can do. So I will introduce to you Tia. Her pronouns are her, she likes books, and dislikes mud. Who is your character?
Barry. He likes to party, but he does not like lies.
Ah. So
no liars here.
The next thing you do after you fill in that section of your profile is you fill in this section over here. And you have to choose one item in each section. So related to treasure, are they a hoarder, a spender, or an investor? Related to climates, do they like it hot, cold, or mild? Their lifestyle could be active, or they could be hibernate. Or it could be relaxed. And their social sort of nature is that they're solitary or outgoing, or they're amiable. So what you do in this section here is you choose one from each of these sections, and no more than 2 in any column. So I've chosen 2 in this column right here, so I can't choose either one of these. So I choose in other columns, and this is going to sort of set the tone for which dragons you might match well with. So after everybody has got their profile filled out, you also take a second chances card, which is going to help you mitigate your die rolls later in the game.
There we go.
All right. So the point of the game is to get to 21 points by the end of the game. The first player to do that is going to trigger the last round of the game, and after that round is finished, whoever has the most points wins. So you track your points at the bottom of your profile. And what happens every turn of the game is you first select a dragon to date. So you can just date the dragon that's on the top of the deck, or you can swipe left to reject this dragon. And you can reject up to 3 dragons for free on your turn. So let's just pretend that I didn't want to date this dragon. I would reject this, and he would end up, or this dragon would end up in this section here. And this section here is called the dating pool. It can hold up to 3 dragons at a time. So I reject that one, but let's say that I decide that I want to date this one right here, Bright Eyes. So I would say, okay, I'm going to date Bright Eyes, and I would take this card and I would see how Bright Eyes and I are, how compatible we are. So Bright Eyes is a spender and I'm an investor. They like mild climates, so do I. They like to hibernate, but I'm very active, and they're a solitary creature while I am very outgoing. So we're not very compatible. But each of these sections here is going to dictate which dice that I get to put into my pool, which is what I'm going to roll to see how well our date goes. So for every section where we are exactly compatible, like for example in climates, we both like mild climates, I get a green die. Green die have the most chance of us making a match, essentially. Then for everyone where I am 1 away, so like where I'm an investor and they're a spender, that's 1 away, I get a blue die. And then for everyone that is 2 away, like our lifestyles, I'm very active and they like to hibernate, I would take a red die. So I would have to take 2 red die. I'm not very compatible with this particular dragon. So this would be my die pool for this round. They also have some things that may change the die that you get to roll or trigger certain things that happen during the course of your date or that kind of thing. So the next thing that's going to happen is we are going to choose a location where we are going to go on a date. So this location card off the top of the deck is going to tell us where we're going on the date. And then it's going to show you 3 parts of the date. So the meetup is that we're gonna have lunch. Then our next step is that we'll go swimming together. And then taking it to the next level is that we would stay for dinner. Okay, so those are the 3 parts to the date. And essentially these are like 3 sort of rounds of your turn. It's also gonna tell you something special. Like for example, this card says that all red dice are blue here. So I would actually exchange the 2 red die that I had to take to begin with, and I'd get 2 blue die instead, which is good for me because that would not have been very good. It's also gonna tell me if there is any bonuses, and we'll come back to that later. So after I have my die pool, after we've got our location, after I have the dragon that I'm going to date, the next thing that happens is we go for the meetup portion of our date. So I would roll all 4 of these dice here. And any hearts that I have that's good. We want hearts because that's going to be how we have a successful date, how we score points. We do not want flames. We especially don't want 3 flames because if you get 3 flames, you get burned. The date goes very badly, and it's not gonna go well. So let's just pretend for a second that maybe this was our result. So I got burned once, but I can get burned up to 3 times before the date ends poorly. So now I have a choice. I can keep my result of the hearts. I have to put this one on my card. I can't roll that one again, but I can keep the result of my hearts and I can roll again to try to make it to the next portion of the date, which is next step. So let's say that I do that. So I have 3 hearts right now. I'm gonna re-roll these. Ooh, okay, let's again modify the results for a second. All right, so then I would have another flame that would end up over here on my card. I'm getting really close to getting burned, but I'd have 2 more hearts as well. So in this next step portion of the date, it went okay. So now we're at 5 hearts. Now I can stop at any time I want. So I could have stopped after the meetup if I wanted to. I can stop after the next step here if I wanted to, or I could keep on going to the next level. I already have 2 flames, so I'm probably gonna wanna stop. It is a push your luck game, so I could push my luck and keep going, but if I get a 3rd flame, the date is gonna end poorly. Whereas if I stop right now, I have 5 hearts, 3 from the previous round and 1 from this round. So if I stop now, I get 5 points. And the way that I would do that is I would just circle the 5 right down here on my profile. Let's pretend that we do that. So I stop, I get 5 points, and then Bright Eyes, the dragon that I went on the date with, is going to end up over here in my dating circle. Thank you. So Bright Eyes ends up in my dating circle, and I can return to Bright Eyes as a prospect to go on future dates with if I want to. And I can do that again and again and again until either we have a bad date and I get burned, or until another player pays to go out with Bright Eyes. So the way that that would work is that you'd have to give up 3 of your own points, but then you can date outside of your own pool. So then what happens after our date successfully wraps up and I record my points and put them into my dating pool is that it becomes the next player's turn. And they would start over again at this space here. They could either date this dragon, they could date any of the dragons that are face up in this section over here. So there can be up to 3 dragons face up over here. So they could date any one of those, or they could date one from the sort of like the top deck here. And it just goes back and forth between the players until the end of the game, which is when one player scores 21 points or more. We finish that round, and whoever has the most points wins. There are ways to mitigate your die results with these cards over here. So if you acquire those cards throughout the game, and you can do that by getting burned or sometimes the dragons themselves, or even the locations will give you chances to get those kinds of cards. So you can mitigate your die results with those cards there, and the dragons and the locations will change how certain things go in over the course of the date. So sometimes, like with our example, sometimes they let you change the die that you're actually using. Sometimes it'll say if you get this type of result, then you can ignore it, or if you do this, then this happens. So the dragons themselves and the locations all change how you're interacting with the game itself. And yeah, so in a nutshell, that is Cindr.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and play a little bit, come back towards the mid-game, and tell you what we think of Cindr. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and get to it. Let's get that dating going on and shoot them smolders out. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Toodles. Welcome back to our midway of our game. So, how's it going?
It's going better than before we met. I was on a dating app, and I feel like it's going better than that experience. So we are dating dragons, trying to go on successful dates to score points, essentially. I have been on a couple of successful dates. You've been on a few more.
Just a bit, you know. Just been dating around, but we have the exact same number of points as well.
We do. We each have 12 points.
Yep.
21 ends the game. So we're a little tiny bit more than halfway through the game.
I'm all like, hey.
What do you think so far?
So Cindr is more of what I feel is like a party game, a game where you play with a lot of people and you have a good time. You don't take it too seriously.
Definitely not.
I feel like it can get kind of awkward if you take it way too seriously.
Oh yeah, for sure, I think.
And if you play with someone that takes it way too seriously, it's like, okay, you need to have a little bit of readjustment. But if you're having fun, if you're goofing around, you can make some funny little characters. And then you can give him I like for my character Barry, his likes are parties and his dislikes are lies. I mean, you can get a little sillier than that. But I mean, it's a little push your luck game, so it's very quick. The little things for like flavor text. There we go. The little flavor text blurbs they have on their little dating app profile pages. It's funny. It's just kind of like we've been laughing because this isn't really kind of one of our games that we normally would play, because we like more of a strategy or a game that has it's not too much of a party game. We're not really party game people, but it's made us laugh.
I think it feels like a party game, but the mechanics are more aligned to
something
light push your luck. Yeah, more like light push your luck games, which we do play sometimes.
Yeah. And it's just a little.
I wanted to show some of the art. Okay.
So we'll show you some of the artwork.
The artwork is fun. They're all supposed to be if you are familiar with Tinder or apps like that, it's supposed to kind of be like that. So this would be what shows up on the screen of your device, and then you can swipe left or right. If you swipe left, they end up in a community pool, or if you swipe right, then
you have a chance of dating.
Match with them, and you go you might be able to go on a date.
So what's been your experience so far?
So push your luck is not my favorite kind of game. My dad really likes push your luck games, and my mom does too, to a certain extent. We've done a lot of trial and error figuring out what kind of games they like. They're baby gamers, and I've shown them a lot of different kinds of games, and it seems like the ones that they've enjoyed the most are push your luck games. So we do play a lot of push your luck games, but that's really not my favorite mechanic. So this is a push your luck game. And so right off the bat, they're not my favorite, and we play a lot of them anyway because my family likes them. So, those two things are sort of personal strikes against the game for me, but they're not actually strikes against the game. They're just things that, for me, don't really...
It's just your personal preference towards the game.
Exactly. There are some things I do think are really fun about it. I think the artwork is really cute, especially there's like little tidbits here and there. Every card has a description that you can read before you decide to swipe right or left on them. So this particular character, he says, they say, I've traveled far and wide to find rare and fluffy felines to befriend. I'd love to tell you more about it if you're even half as adorable as they are. So sometimes there are like little clues to their compatibility areas. And so if you pick up on those clues in the text on the front of the card, then you might be able to kind of guess like that you might be more or less compatible in one area or another. So I think that's kind of fun looking through the text clues there to see if like maybe you can kind of guess correctly if you're going to be compatible with them in certain areas. I like that part. I like assembling your die pools based on your compatibility. So for example, this character right here is one that I went on a date with. This is my profile. So these are my compatibility markers. Normally you cannot have 3 in the middle like this, but I dated a dragon that let me change my alignment a little bit. So I am an investor where this character is a hoarder. So we're a little bit different here in this category. So that would give me a blue die. In the climate category and in the lifestyle category and in the social category, we're all exactly well matched. So that would give me 3 of these die right here. So I really like the sort of the compatibility checks because that lets you build a dice pool that is what you use to try to go on your dates. And the die are different. Hang on one second, I will tell you what the die faces are because it's in the book. So green has 4 hearts and 2 flames. Blue has 3 hearts and 3 flames, and red has only 2 hearts and 4 flames. And you want the hearts, not the flames. So the green is the best chance for you to like have a good date. Blue is okay, and red is the worst chance for you to have. So I really like building your die pool with your sort of compatibility stats, I guess. I think that part is cool. I think they've done just enough to allow you to mitigate your die rolls. And I also think they've done just enough to keep things interesting because, so okay, what happens is you build your die pool based off of their compatibility, and then every dragon has 2 areas where they may change things up a little bit. And after you build your die pool, you'll get a location where you're going to go on your date, and it will change things up even further. So the combinations of your date and where you're going, I don't know how many of these cards there are, but there's enough to make like lots and lots and lots and lots of unique combos. So there's definitely some replayability here as far as like the cards go. And I think that 21 points isn't that much, but because it is sort of just like a quick playing push your luck game, you know, there are a lot of times where we've been on the next step. So the date has 3 phases. You have a meetup phase. That's like the first time you roll your dice. If you're going to push your luck or if you're going to keep playing, then you have a next step portion of your date where you toss the dice again. And then the last portion of the date is the next level, taking things to the next level. And you toss your dice again here if you choose to go to each step. So, and it only counts as a successful date if you at least make it to the next step and don't get burned by the end of the next step. So, yeah, I think that there's some interesting stuff going on. I think that there's a lot of flavor in the game. The way that the game has been designed is very, very thematic. your profiles, like these looking like the profiles of potential dates that you might meet up with. The 3 different portions of each date. Each one of those, it's kind of fun. This is like a location-based program, kind of like like Google Maps
or Trivia Night
or
oh no, yeah, I get you.
Like Google Maps or like Yelp or something like that. So it's got like a rating. It tells you a little bit about the place, and then it tells you what's going to occur on your date. And all of this, as far as I can tell, is different on every card. So that's been fun and unique. To me, it's the best way to do this has been to read the description on your character that you want to go on the date with, and then after you line up your stats, to read the description of the place where you're going to go, and then to be like, okay, well, for the meetup portion of our date, we're going to go to dinner. Then our next step will be to go to the spa together, and then we'll take things to the next level by having moonlit cocktails.
Ooh! So
if you want, you can kind of get into sort of like the storytelling aspect of the game. And sort of feel that thematic, thread throughout the game as you are going on these dates.
And we talked about this during the game, that if you are like a D&D player that also plays board games, that you would really enjoy this one.
Yeah, I feel like that is accurate. If you like
role playing.
Yeah, if you like that sort of like campaign feel, like that storytelling campaign feeling where you're going on adventures and you're meeting new people and new dragons, and but you also like board and card games, then this feels like a really nice place as a crossover game, just because it feels like you're going on a very mini adventure that like you would be if you were in a role-playing game, but the mechanics of it are a dice chucker.
And one last thing before we continue playing and then we find out who the winner and loser is that once you go ahead and roll, and if you, depending on, and if your date is, what's it, burned up?
Yeah, if you get burned on your date.
Burned. Depending on how bad the burn is, you can get, like, this try again, this apology, or this total do-over. And it's kind of like a little catch-up mechanic.
Yeah, and it's also nice because it helps you to mitigate the die rolls. Anytime you're playing a dice game, I think it's nice to have some mitigation to the rolls, because otherwise, like, you're just completely at the mercy of the die, and you might as well just be like a robot chucking the die, because whatever's going to happen is going to happen, right? Yeah. But anytime they add mitigation to the die results, I think
it at least gives you a chance.
Yeah, and also that's, to me, like, when the game gets interesting.
Yeah.
Because if it's a mindless dice chucker, you're just chucking dice, whatever happens, happens. Well, you might as well, like, not even be there, right? But if there's choices like this, then I think, okay, well, that's where the interesting part comes in. And they do have several areas of the game where it sort of butts up against that pure luck-driven aspect and says, hey, here's a meaningful choice that you can make. So that's kind of cool, too.
Awesome. Well, okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue playing and then finish out. And we'll get back to you guys and talk to you about our final thoughts, and also how we final thoughts of Cindr. So, without further ado, we'll get back to you guys in a little bit. Toodles! I was the savviest dating a smolder throwing person. You came up and outsmoldered me. So, you are our winner of Cindr by 2 points.
Nick triggered endgame, and I didn't think I was going to be able to beat him, but I scored 9 points on my last turn.
You got, I think, an additional die throughout.
I went on a date with a dragon that I had already been on a date with, so they were in my social circle, and I was very compatible with them. So I got 3 green die and a blue die. And on dates with this character, because of the location that I was at, I would get an extra point for sparks rolled on my last turn. And sparks did not count as fire. So I was able to pull out 9 points with this combo right here. And nice. That gave me a 2-point win over Nick.
Oh, so frustrating. I thought I was the dating savvy one, but nope. No smoldering over here anymore. It's gone lukewarm. Well, all right. What'd you think? What were your final thoughts?
I think that it's cute. I think that if you like games like King of Tokyo, or Yahtzee-style games where you're rolling dice multiple times on your turn, if you like push-your-luck games, especially lighter ones, then I would give this one a try. If you are comfortable with the sort of social commentary on dating apps, then I don't think that you'll have any problems with anything in the game. Like I said earlier, I was on several dating apps before I met Nick, and I did not have a fantastic experience on those apps. Just like again and again and again, I met horrible people. So for me, this is a little bit too close to reality. I know it's supposed to be silly, and but it just kind of brings back to memory some bad experiences that I had on dating apps. But I think if you can kind of laugh at this sort of situation, then you may find quite a bit of humor in the parallels that they draw between dating apps and the sort of, fictional universe that they're creating here. Yeah, so I like the artwork. I think that each dragon having its own sort of personality and
a little blurb on it.
Yeah, unique traits is cool. I think that the Whelp deck with all the different locations is really neat. I liked seeing all of the different dates that they sort of constructed. And yeah, I liked the sort of light nature of it, but the fact that you could still mitigate the luck a little bit.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought the same thing. So, I thought similar. This is a goofy little game. It is push your luck, and I'm not a fan of it, but usually it's not my first choice of mechanics. But at the same time, this was goofy. It had a nice kind of combination with it all, and it's fit. It fit real nicely, and in a little game night when you can do game nights again, and you have a crowd that's pretty and you just kind of want to laugh a little bit, and everyone wants to read the goofy cards, and maybe share some of their horrible stories on dating apps. This is definitely the game for that.
I think too. I think that the mechanics and theme are really, really nicely blended together. Yeah. I think that it makes a lot of sense what you're doing in relation to the theme. And
I do have to agree with you there, because it really blends really well with that, and it's really nice.
And I think too, I think it's an interesting view on sort of like compatibility. Because you get this tiny little blurb about the dragon on the front of the card, and you think like, okay, maybe I might, based on like my traits, I might be compatible with this particular dragon because I'm getting these little subtle hints about who they might really be.
A little bit of social deduction.
A little bit, yeah, but not any more or any really different than if you were actually on a dating site trying to glean whether or not, based on this little paragraph and picture.
So you're saying play the solo mode before you go ahead and actually get on a dating app so you can prepare.
I think it's like I said, it's an interesting sort of commentary on like making a judgment about your potential compatibility with a partner, just based on like a very limited amount of information. I did think that it was definitely interesting in that, because like I said, you have a picture and you have like this little tiny blurb of information to decide whether or not you think that you might be compatible with this dragon enough to want to go on a date with them. And only after you decide if you want to go on a date with them do you actually learn how exactly compatible you are with them. So I thought that that was very, very true to life, right? Like if you're on a dating app, you have very little information to go on about whether or not you're going to be compatible with someone. And then when you meet in person, you actually can tell if you're hitting on like all of the right points.
Or if you get burned.
Yeah, or if you're going to get burned. So I thought that I thought the theme, like I said, was really, really nicely tied into the mechanics and very well thought through as far as like the sort of like the psychological and emotional things that go into being on a dating app like this. So maybe reading a little bit too much into it, but like I said, this theme in general puts me in a more sort of thoughtful place instead of like a haha, isn't this funny? So yeah, take it as what you will.
Well, all right, that is Cindr from Smirk and Laughter Games. I hope you all enjoyed this board game vlog, and until next time, toodles!
Ba 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 ba